failing is a good thing. That means you're signaling to your brain that change needs to happen. Getting your neurological system really primed up for a marathon is super important, but it's even more with the juggling because there's that coordination element that's added on top of it. Around Christmas time last year, I had one reel in particular that got me about 50,000 followers. So it's kind of luck. You can do all the training and everything, but nothing's gonna prepare you for running for almost 3 hours as fast as you can while juggling.
My name is Jean-Marc Doiron. I'm from Canada. I'm a lifelong runner, and this year I've been trying to break some world records for joggling, so running while juggling.
What came first, the juggling or the running?
The running. I remember my first race. I was 7 years old and showed up to a race without real running clothes, and I remember someone making fun of me at the start line, and not really having any expectations. And everyone went out in a full sprint, and I think it was a 600 meters, and a little ways in, I realized I was first, and I won. And I remember that high, and I've been chasing it ever since. And then when I was 16, I got injured for a summer, and picked up juggling as kind of a thing to do while my leg healed. And yeah, it's just last fall that I decided to try putting both together for the first time.
It seems like a long time from the start of both things, really, to then putting them together. Was there kind of a spark that made you do that, or what was the reasoning that you thought, let's try and do these two things together? Because we'll get into it down the line. You do them both together, and you also do them both very, very well together.
Well, I think I felt like I had been on a plateau for a long time with running. I've been trying to break 2:30 in the marathon forever, and 32 minutes in the 32 minutes in the 10K forever. So when the idea of juggling came up, it kind of felt like a reset button to all my PBs, and the allure of the Guinness World Record that felt attainable. It just clicked. And then when I started talking or mentioning it to people, and just seeing the excitement, then people light up when I would say, "Oh, hey, I'm going to try a marathon while juggling." They'd be like, "Tell me more." And I guess that's kind of what fueled it. It just brought new life to something that I've been doing for close to 20 years competitively.
That's really interesting what you say about PBs there in terms of the marathon. You know, trying to break that 2:30 mark and trying to break that 32 mark in the 10K. How do you keep yourself motivated if maybe those barriers are kind of, you're not getting through them quite as quickly as maybe you thought you might?
Well, I've had good mentors in that space that really put emphasis on the process and the lifestyle and the learning that comes from chasing goals, whether you achieve them or not. So I can hit the end of a season, and let's say because even last fall I ran a 2:32, aiming for 2:30, and I can still point to about 5 to 10 things that were great, that I learned and I grew, and running brought to my life, and the memories of running it, and the hype for it. So I guess one of the things that my first coach is a two-time Olympian in the steeplechase himself and a lifelong runner. He encouraged me to kind of listen to what kept coming back in myself as that excited me to run, because after a while, I had high school races and university races that would have excitement built in the kind of life that you're living. But afterwards, as an adult, as a runner, you have to create that for yourself, because if you're running your local 10K, no one's going to create that excitement for you. So you need to kind of be like, oh, I have all these months of build up, and I'm going to try to get a personal best. And next thing you know, you're consumed by it. So it's kind of chasing that process, and my life has always been built around that. So all my good habits come from it, and like going to bed early, eating right, and doing exercise. So it's kind of a way that I've built my life, I guess.
I think it's quite difficult actually for some people that are like getting into the sport, and I'm sure there'll be people listening to this that have just started putting on a pair of trainers and just started going out the door, and you get those, you get at the start, don't you, those huge jumps in performance from, you know, PBs, whether that be from a 5K all the way up to the marathon. You seemingly go from strength to strength to strength, but when that plateau does hit, it is very difficult. What would you say to anybody that is in that space of being a new runner that has experienced those huge jumps, but now is maybe starting to having to fall into the pattern of, you know, just getting the grind out every day?
For the way I do it is what I had been talking about. Like it becomes not about the PBs, but about the lifestyle. And by the time you hit that plateau, you'll usually get a good 2 years of growth and personal bests and always improving, especially as an adult. I guess it would be different as a teenager, because as a teenager, you can probably get personal bests like every single year till till you're like 20 or so. If you're starting the sport as an adult, you'll get probably close to 2 years of what you describe, like those growths and gains as your body becomes like really accustomed to running. And by that time, you'll probably have found all the other good things that running will bring you, like the health benefits and the good habits, and probably a community. After 2 years, you'll probably have training partners and people you're used to see at races and all that good stuff. So I would just encourage to focus on all the other positives that you'll inevitably have found on the way.
We'll get into the running and juggling very soon, but I wanted to bring up this quote because I really loved it on your Instagram. Every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. Just talk me through that quote a little bit.
Yeah, that's from James Clear's Atomic Habits. So it's a very popular book. But it's I guess it's a way to motivate yourself on a daily basis, where you don't have to be perfect. You just have to see all of your actions as kind of a vote towards the person you want to become. So I mean, every day you might not go out for that run, or you might not eat the perfect meal, or you might not go to bed early. But if you're doing those on most days, cumulatively, that becomes who you are. So I love that. It kind of has a message of not chasing perfection, but the actions, and because all those habits are really closely tied to identity, and a vote for who you want to become and who you are. Eventually, you are all those actions, and those things will become more and more automatic. But when you're in the process of becoming someone else or becoming someone better, I find that quote is a good guiding light to keep on the right track.
I mentioned Instagram. I saw that quote on your Instagram. Is that a little bit strange that you've got this massive following now on the social platform, and you know, you see so many people that you're motivating on a day-to-day basis? How does that feel for you?
Pretty good. I mean, as I used to be, I used to play a lot of video games when I was younger, and since I have kids, I don't have time for it. So, I guess Instagram has kind of taken that place for me. So, for me, it was kind of I was seeing it like a game at the start, and seeing if I could figure out how to create things that would reach people and that would get more views and that would get more comments and things like that. So I remember hearing an interview from Mr. Beast, and he probably everyone knows who Mr. Beast is, but he had said, like, if you're just starting out, just try to make 100 videos and improve one thing on each video. So I was like, all right, I'll try that. And I work in communications too. So I had a career as a journalist, and now I work for a community college and do a lot of their social media and media relations. So it was kind of made sense for me to do it as a hobby. And I mean, it took the first 6 months was a grind, and I was like, why isn't this working? It took 6 months for me to catch up to have more followers than people I was following. When I started, I had like 800 followers, and I was following
1,500. So that took about 6 months. But after that, I think my skill at Instagram had achieved a certain level where it just started having a snowball effect, and it got decently quickly to 10,000. And around Christmas time last year, I had one reel in particular that got me about 50,000 followers. So it's kind of luck too. Like you mix a bit of skill and a bit of luck. And I feel like my running background kind of helped me with that kind of sticking with it, even if you're not seeing the results, and keep trusting that eventually you'll get better. And it was a big mindset shift. Like I thought, like if anyone just puts out this stuff on Instagram, like you're doing good stuff. So like I'm running a lot, so people will respond to that. But the stuff that I was doing at the start was terrible, and I thought it was good. But I remember like partway through that process, looking at what I had done like a few months earlier, and I was like, oh no, okay, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. So it was cool to see like how I was getting better and gaining a skill, and that's what I thrive on from running, just to see the personal best and to see that I'm getting better at certain things. So I apply that to a lot of things. Like I picked up chess at one point, and Instagram was one of it, and I played poker with friends for during the pandemic. We every Sunday we would play online together. So just chasing that. Trying how do I win against my friends at this thing, and eventually you're improving. So that's part of who I am as an identity. Like I did skateboarding for a summer and tried to learn how to do a kickflip, and but it's just so I just loved and with the juggling, that was one of the most satisfying things about juggling was how many times that I achieved a point where I thought I had like mastered it, and I thought this is probably as good as you can get at juggling while running as you can get, and then a month later being like, oh no, I'm much better now than I was when I thought I had achieved the pinnacle. So that high of growth and progress, I really fuel off that.
Do you apply that to sort of every facet of your life? Because it's really interesting to hear you say about sort of the process of running helping other kind of endeavors when it comes to, you know, building an Instagram or playing poker or juggling. Is it other aspects of your life you apply sort of the lessons you've learned from running to as well, your family life, your work life, etc.? Yeah,
one of an unlock for me was when I found things like sleep, because I had grown up as a bad sleeper. Like I'm not good at sleep. Like it was like part of my identity. But when I shifted to, sleep is also a skill that you can get better at, and you can do, like there's tons of stuff, and I discovered a whole bunch of podcasts and videos on YouTube and things, and started reading up on it, and then trying to apply it, and I mean, just the sleep was forced me to try to improve so many other things in my life. Like one of the things that was hurting my sleep was I was eating right before bed. So that's easy enough to cut out. But then, so you do that for 2-3 nights, but then on night 4 or 5, you find yourself like you're just snacking, and you're like, what's going on here? Like what? I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm still doing it. And then you realize, well, yeah, I'm going to the fridge because I'm so tired from my day. I'm not even able to concentrate on what I'm supposed to do, and I'm getting this craving, so I'm just going with it. And then you're like, oh, well, the problem isn't necessarily the snack. It's I've been too stressed, and my life has a lot too many demands on me, so it's preventing me from doing the things that I need to do to sleep right. So all right, how do I address those? So when my second child was born, I decided to tackle sleep, and I've just been like improving facet after facet after facet of my life. Of like I wasn't a big drinker. I would say I would drink like 3 to 5 drinks a week, but now it's maybe 1 drink per 2 months or so, per month or two, and that was a big part of it. Just like I had a 6-month stretch where I just went cold turkey and just stopped, and was fascinated by that too. It was like for like 2-3 months I would get these cravings, and I'd be like, oh, this is a moment where I would usually have a beer, and just every time that came up, I would think, imagine if I were smoking, I would have this kind of craving like 10 times a day while I was, and I would be like, I can deal with once every few days of having a craving. So, I mean, just so many things like that. And it's still ongoing. Like, I'm back to that level of, I'm getting a lot of time in bed, but I'm waking up a lot at night. So, I realized that my stress level is probably a bit too high. So just leaning into rest when I am resting, because I would do stuff like, all right, I need to meditate. That's important. But then I'm sitting there for 20 minutes like, is it over yet? Is it over? And I'm not really like, okay, just stop. So that's the current thing that I'm working on. I'm trying to really like lean into rest when I'm resting. And so yeah, it's an ongoing struggle, but I would say, that I've made such a long way, and journaling is a thing I do. And I remember opening my journal from a few years back and being like, wow, if I am, those things are behind me. Like I've passed a lot of things, just like being irritable at little things in the evening because I've had too much stress at work. Like I've made a lot of progress on that. I would say I'm less irritable in general, and when I am, I'm able to intervene more quickly. So those are like the little things that are not as public, but that I'm extremely proud of.
Do you find it hard to switch off, because you've obviously got a million and one things going on? We've mentioned like life is busy. You've got a family life as well. You've got a work life. You've got a life online, so to speak. You've got a social life. You've got a running life. Like, is it difficult sometimes just to take a step back and be like, let's just take a moment here?
Yeah, well, I'm lucky that I work from home, so and the I guess my relationship with my work is I'm not very micromanaged. Like I'm able to manage my time. So my time during the day, I'll take like a 15-minute nap here and there, or I'll do yoga, or I'll do go for a few walks in a day. So I guess those are the times where I really try to get quality breaks. Like I'm not just switching from like my email to my Facebook and back to my email as a break. Like that's a mistake that I think a lot of people do, and that I was doing a lot of. So those are the kinds of things that I use, especially during the daytime. And then it's a matter of communication with my wife, and having teamwork in terms of all right, I need 20 minutes right now. Can you take the kids? Yes, no, and then kind of, I guess that's kind of hard to do. The harder part of that is like I should be able to enjoy parenting. Like I should savor, like they're not going to be young forever, like you should always be happy when you're with your kids. It's like, no, sometimes I'm really tired and I'm not able to enjoy this. So then you kind of it's just hard, like when you're speaking about it right now, like, oh, it makes total sense. You need like a half hour, an hour to yourself, and then you're going to come back and enjoy the next 3-4 hours with your kids of whatever activity you're doing. But when you're in the moment, you're like, you can almost feel shameful that I'm putting myself before my kids and myself before my wife. Like, why would I deserve a break when so those are the kinds of relationship things that don't have much to do with, it doesn't seem like they have to do with running, but I think they do, because if you can do work on those, your levels of stress and your like recovery is going to be a lot better, and ultimately your performance is going to be a lot better. So maybe not when you're beginning, because when you're beginning running, you're getting that new stimulus in, and the progress and the gains, your body's going to react. But when you've, like me, been running for like 20 years, if your recovery isn't going well, you're going to be stuck on that plateau. So you need to drill down on those like soft things in your life, like the stress level, and that is tied to diet and sleep and everything else.
It's like a puzzle, isn't it? And like running for you is always going to be a piece of the puzzle that needs to fit somewhere. So sometimes when other parts of that puzzle change shape, or you have to kind of work it out how you can put back that puzzle together again to get kind of the everything back in, everything cognizant, if you will. Everything's just flowing in like unity, but that never really happens, does it? Because
No.
there's always something.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the, what do you call it, running and juggling together? Is that
The term is joggling. So
joggling?
like
I keep
jogging,
almost
but
saying it
with
the
an
wrong
L.
thing. Joggling. Because in
I
the
find
UK, joggle is John O'Groats the Land's End. So you call running the length of the UK, so the furthest northern point, John O'Groats, the furthest southern point is Land's End. So every time I say joggle, it reminds me of that run that people do from the northern point to the southern point of the UK. So yeah, I keep nearly saying joggle. I was like, that's the wrong thing, but no, joggling. There you go. In terms of joggling, when you first picked up sort of the balls and you went out there and you were doing it, well, I'm just trying to work out the process of what you're thinking about. Are you thinking about it, or is it completely kind of like second nature?
So the first time anyone tries it, your eyes are gonna track the balls, and you're gonna be like, "How is this possible? Like, I'm gonna run into like a telephone pole, or I'm gonna run into a car, or I'm just gonna like go off the road," because you're not looking at where you're going. So the first step is getting past that. And the way that I did was during my work breaks, I would go for like a 10-minute walk and juggle. So getting used to going forward while juggling was the first step, and eventually your eyes will start looking forward, and it's just like that contrast of pattern from like the background to the balls that and it becomes kind of automatic where your hand will adjust to where the balls are going. I did something a bit crazy. I did 800 meters at a local track meet here while juggling, but it was like a full-on race with like 10 other guys. So, and that as soon as it started, I was like, oh, I'm in trouble, because I was like in the middle of a pack, or like just behind the pack, and what the background was all the other runners, but they're bouncing around and changing sides and everything, and I couldn't think of, like, I was like, I forgot how to do this. And the reason I realized later was like, oh, I'm dependent on having like a stable background.
Yeah.
And like the contrast of like the balls moving is what's keeping everything afloat. So like in that race, I had to resort back to like really looking at the balls and not looking at where I was going, because I had lost that background to use the contrast as. So after, like, because I've been doing, I've probably done like over 2,000 kilometers of juggling at this point since the beginning of the year. So after a while, it's just become like, it feels like running. I just go out and there's no different from what I was doing before. It's just I'm running and juggling, and people are laughing and making little jokes when they see me go by. A lot of people are like, oh, you can try 4 or something like that. I would say like when I did start like to run, like after I mastered walking while juggling, then I started like going for easy runs and just playing a game of like, okay, I'm gonna try to get to 5 minutes without dropping, and if I do, like, I'm only allowed to start juggling again when I hit the next multiple of 5. So that's, I would try to get as close to 5 minutes without dropping the ball as I could, and eventually I just got to the point where I wasn't dropping anymore, and just that was kind of like the little running drill that I used to get that next step. And then when I started doing interval training and going faster than an easy run pace, that felt like I had to learn it all over again, because the biomechanics were different. Like your leg is doing different stuff and it's bouncing around a lot more. So then once again, I was then it wasn't so much the where I was looking as the breathing was way off. Like I was like holding my breath and like trying not to to drop a ball while going a bit faster. So that eventually too became second nature. Whereas now I can, I would say like going at faster paces, like it will cost me like 10 seconds per kilometer just in terms of biomechanics. So let's say my 10K pace would be like 320 per kilometer. With juggling is about 330 per kilometer, and it feels about the same in terms of effort, and my heart rate and everything is about the same. But it's just the something about the biomechanics is just like kind of holds you back a tad.
It's really interesting, the mention there of, I almost treated it as like I do 5 minutes and then I think, oh, I can do another 5 minutes. You're kind of almost gaming it again, aren't you? It's like going back to what we said about the social media. It's like that gaming background when you were a kid. Maybe you played a lot of video games, and you've kind of got that with the joggling, because it's like, how do I get better? How do I get to this next level? And that is almost how this feels.
Yeah, and there's no like instruction manual. Like we're a small group of so that was kind of fun too. Just like learning from something from scratch, but not having access to like a bunch of YouTube videos on how to do it. It's just like people have done it, so maybe you can too. And then it was just relying on like one of the most influential books I read was The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin. He was a world-class chess player and martial artist, and I've read that book a few times, but it's just like a lot of principles of I mean that's kind of where I learned that like I think like failing doesn't mean you're a failure, and if you're gonna learn, you're gonna fail, and that's okay. So just being vigilant about perfectionism and seeing that like you're like failing is a good thing. That means you're signaling to your brain that change needs to happen, and you're not gonna be even able to get better at anything without having that initial failure that releases that process of your brain starting to modify itself to the new thing that you're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I've and a lot of like listening to Huberman Labs in his earlier episodes. He had I listened probably like religiously to his podcast for the first 6 months. I like discovered it when he was at episode 3. I was like one of the early adopters, and after a while, I felt like I had learned a lot of what he like the original thoughts that he had to learn, but to teach, and a lot of those had to do with like how neuroplasticity works and how to unlock it and how to get better at things. So it was just a lot of that, like kind of relying on the art of learning, I guess, and applying it to joggling. But then like a little drill, like the 5-minute thing, that has to do with I guess a bit of problem solving and creativity and staying present in the moment and being like, okay, what can I use to stay motivated here? Because at first I was trying to just go out and joggle as long as I could, but my wrists weren't strong enough and my concentration wasn't there yet, and it was just I would have lost motivation if I didn't have like that built-in little break and little game to help me get through that phase, because it wasn't very natural at the start.
Talk me through the marathon then, and the record attempt. We'll get onto the half attempt that you've just come through as well. But yeah, let's go with the marathon first.
Right. So on October 20th, I'm trying to break the world record in the marathon while juggling. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes and 12 seconds. I guess the like interesting part and the like very unique part is like in a marathon you need to fuel up, so you need to eat and you need to drink. And with the way the record is built, you're not allowed to make forward progress without juggling. So anytime you want to eat or drink, you have to put your balls on a table at a water station, and then just as fast as you can open your gel and get it down and get some water in, and then go start running again. So I've gotten those down to like 20 to 30 seconds that I can make those stops. So like I'm planning on taking 4 to 5 of those stops. So like built in the record is a minimum of 2.5 minutes of break. Another like logistical thing that complicates things is you need to have a video evidence of the whole thing. So I'm running with a GoPro strapped to my chest, but GoPro, the one I have anyways, the batteries isn't strong enough to last the whole marathon, so I'm gonna have to switch batteries in the middle of the race. So I'm guessing that'll take like another minute or so, or maybe 2 if I drop the battery or anything like that while I'm trying. Hopefully it's not too cold on that day. but so yeah, so I guess there's like built in close to 4 minutes of stopping, and then every time you drop the ball, you can pick it up, but you have to like take a few steps back to where you lost control and then start juggling again. So each of those is maybe 5 to 10 seconds. When I did the half marathon recently, I dropped 3 times. So I think that's probably the rate that I can expect in the marathon, about maybe 5 to 10 drops in the whole thing. I did attempt the marathon record in last May, and I would say like as the race, I missed it by 2 minutes, but as the race progressed, the drops progressed as well. Like in the first 10 kilometers, I dropped once, but in the last 10, I probably dropped like 15 times, or like it felt like a lot more. But it was like, and I remember like with 1 kilometer to go, and I was completely bonked, and I was just in survival mode, and I dropped, and I just like sighed, and I was like, I don't want to like lean down and take this ball. Like, yeah, it was so demoralizing, but it was, yeah, it's now I like laugh at it, and it's a fond memory, and I remember that moment exactly. But yeah, I guess that those are the reasons you do it. Like I have a bunch of memories from that day and scenes that pop up just starting to talk about it. So that's what's special about racing. Like especially marathons, like you can do maybe 1 or 2 a year, and I've done I think 5 or 6 marathons now, and like everyone has its own narrative, its own journey, its own memories, and it's a very special event.
How are you feeling going into it this time compared to how you were feeling going into the first attempt?
So after the first attempt, I was devastated. I was so like sad at the finish line and disappointed. And since then, I've changed the narrative on it. I listened to a book that was describing Kipchoge's attempt at breaking 2 hours in the marathon, and the first time where he missed it by because he tried twice, and the first time he missed it by 25 seconds. But when he finished that and missed it by 25 seconds, everyone was celebrating because he had just gone 3 minutes faster than anyone had ever run it before, and he had showed that he was right there. Like it was possible. We can try again and we'll get it. And now that's how I view my first attempt. Like I came so close. I was right there. Like I can point to a few things that I can do better next time, including just having done it once. Because like you can do all the training and everything, but nothing's gonna prepare you for running for almost 3 hours like as fast as you can while juggling. There's just like some like internal like almost animal things that you can't really describe. You just like you have to live it to kind of know what it is, and that's like in my muscle memory now. So yeah, I'm feeling really good about this one because I think my fitness level is quite a bit faster than it needs to be to break the record. I think the last time like I got a bit too ambitious and did the classic like I don't need to just break it. I can break it by a lot. And then feeling great for about 25 kilometers. And then all of a sudden at 30, 32 kilometers, you're completely gassed. And and I think it's such a common narrative for people going through marathons. And that was like the main mistake from my other marathon. So this one, I'm not. I'm just playing it safe. I'm gonna go at a pace just to try to dip under it. While giving myself enough space with all the breaks that I'm going to need to take. So yeah, feeling very confident that the fitness is there. I a few weeks ago I ran without juggling close to my 10K PB. So I know that's there. My mileage, my yearly mileage is the highest it's ever been. I actually calculated I'm on pace to break 4,000 kilometers in a year for the first time. Like I've already run over 3,000 since January 1st. So that's kind of one of the so those two elements that like my 10K is the fastest it's ever been, and I've run more mileage than I ever have. So like what can you ask for more when you're training for a marathon? So from there it's just like the execution, and will I be able to get good sleep? Because getting your neurological system really primed up for a marathon is super important, but it's even more with the juggling because there's that coordination element that's added on top of it. So being really well rested and low stress is probably like the the main determinant that will decide whether I get it or not on race day. So I'm really putting a lot of focus on that on my taper, and just trying to reduce overall life stress from here to there. It's about a month out now.
And the half marathon that you just came through as well, that has to be a huge confidence boost.
Yeah, another like close deception, because I ran an hour and 17 minutes and it was 40 or 50 seconds, and I was going for the world record there too, which is an hour and 17 and 9 seconds. So I was just 40 seconds off. But when we were talking about the neurological side, like I didn't have that for that race. Like I had a lot of stress the week before, and didn't sleep too well the night before, and the race started, and it's like I forgot how to juggle while running. I was like, you want those things to come. You can either do an action top down or bottom up. Let's say you're thinking of a golf swing. The first time you ever play golf, it's 100% top down. You're like, people are going to give you advice like, don't lift your head and look at the ball, and don't like open your body, and you're like thinking of 10 things at once, and that's all top down. But once if you've been playing every day for a few years, you're not thinking that much. You're just going to the ball and hitting it. Like a lot of those things will be internal, and it's just like automatic programming. But with juggling, you can, when it's going right, and in my everyday runs, it's all bottom up. Like I'm not thinking about it at all. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm doing the same thing that I would in my everyday runs without juggling. But then I got to that race, and it just, for some reason, it was all top down. Like I was like, how do I do this again? And like I was like afraid of like running into people, and it was it just felt unnatural. So when I got in that mode, I was like, okay, well, just trust. If after a few kilometers you'll get there. I did eventually get a bit better, but then my thoughts were just so negative the whole way, and it was it had to do with like having poor sleep. But I was like, oh, these kilometers never end. Like I can't just enjoy this, and just like I'm not going full out. I should, like, usually going at a half marathon pace, you're going faster than an easy run pace, so it's gonna feel good. But I just couldn't let go of everything, of anything, and so my like I was fighting against my mind for the whole time, and eventually came really close to the record too. So after finishing that, I was very proud of myself for having like applied reacted the right way when my mind was like kind of fighting against me, and hopefully if I get for the marathon, get better sleep and get there more refreshed and relaxed, I won't have to battle all those things while also trying to get the record.
What's it going to be like when you cross that line and you inevitably, because I'm sure it's going to happen this time, the record's gone, you look down at your watch? Actually, that's another thing. Do you look at your watch? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, that's one of the challenges of juggling too. So you can't look at your pace every 30 seconds if you want to. So a lot of races now will allow you to run with headphones, as long as they don't obstruct, or if you just want one earphone. So what I do now is I put like one of my apps on that it'll just like vocally say every kilometer what pace I've been going. So that's, I didn't have that for the marathon. I just kind of discovered it over the summer. It was actually during a radio interview afterwards. The host was like, "Why don't you just put it in your earphones?" Because
I feel stupid, but exactly that. I was like, "How does he do that?"
So I've been running for 20 years, and my coach originally, like, he was like kind of against GPS watches. Like, you should be able to internally feel how things like that. So it was just like, she was like an amateur beginner-ish runner, and she would go out with the music on her phone and turn on didn't even have a watch. She would just like turn on Strava like from the app and it would just automatically tell her the kilometers. She was like, it doesn't tell you the kilometers while you run? Like, why? Like, it was so obvious to her, but I was like, oh wow, okay, that's a huge unlock for me now, because that was one of the things in my first marathon attempt where I had very little information on what pace I was going. I just had someone yell out at 5 kilometer what my 5 kilometer split was, and then did a bunch of calculations like, okay, I think I can go a bit faster now. So it was,
because you're not thinking about enough at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Because And that's something that's kind of automatic when, if you have a race plan and you have like your GPS watch that you can look at every few seconds, you're like adjusting and you're not even noticing you're doing that. But with if you just eliminate that and you just have like, or no, you're just allowed to have like one cue at like 5K of what your pace is for the whole race, or maybe one more at the half marathon. It complicates things because you have to like deal with like the adrenaline of race day and not going out too fast and all that. So yeah, that can be a challenge. So coming back to your question of what it's gonna feel like when and if I get the record, it's
Let's go when.
Oh, I mean, I came so close, and it's been such a journey. Like I'm usually very emotional when I finish marathons. Like it's just automatic for me. Like I cross the finish line and I can expect to cry in the next 5 minutes or so at some point. So with having everything, like, because it's kind of like a life flashing before your eyes kind of moment. Like you think back of, especially if it's a successful one, you're like, all those failures I had and all the training I did, and when I was a young kid and had that first race when that person laughed at my shoes, and like like it just all comes crashing down. So I'm expecting something like that if I when I get it, I guess.